are very excited to welcome Dr. Khalid Al Araimi, and he will speak about navigating succession and growth in family businesses based in the Middle East. Welcome to you, Dr. Khalid.
Good evening or good afternoon. Thank you, Professor, for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to present an interesting topic, and a topic that is very important in today's time, especially for family businesses that are moving on to successive generations. So if you can just change the slide, please.
I would like to introduce you first of all, and
sure,
thank you
please.
so much for being here. But my first question is, what is the temperature in Oman, in Muscat?
It's actually mid-20s, so it's not as cold as Germany currently. So are you in München currently, or are you
No,
in
we
Berlin?
are in Berlin. We are in Berlin, so it's like exactly. So it's like we have minus 10 degrees centigrade, so it's 35 degrees centigrade difference. That's quite a lot.
Oh God!
Thank you very much for joining today, Dr. Khalid. You are managing director and next generation leader from one of Oman's prominent family businesses. Your company, the Siraj Holdings, is one of Oman's leading family-owned conglomerates with strategic investments across energy, industry, construction, and hospitality. You hold a doctorate in family business administration, or in business administration.
So I got my doctorate degree. It's a DBA, Doctorate of Business Administration, from Cranfield Business School, and the topic of my thesis was the internationalization of family businesses. So it wasn't very specific towards succession, but I mean succession plays a very important role in internationalization. So yeah, that was my thesis. But I'm a mechanical engineer by background. And I hold an MBA as well. And I started my career actually in the engineering oil fields with BP, British Petroleum, as a drilling engineer. And then I joined the family business later on, and the family business is into drilling, contracting, and into construction and hospitality. So quite a diverse portfolio. But this, basically my late father started the business 50 years ago, and then so my siblings and I and trying to carry on, hopefully, the company forward.
Yes, and thank you very much for joining tonight. And I would say now the floor is yours. We will see your presentation. Thank you very much for preparing also the presentation.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I just want to know, do I control the slides, or someone will be
someone will help you? Just say next slide or continue, and then the next slide will show up.
Sure. Next slide, please. So first of all, I'd like to start this presentation by trying to remove stereotypes of, what other families is looking into the Middle East, think about, we're not different. So I think first of all, we'd like to, hopefully remove the stereotypes initially. And then I'd like to move on to currently the family business culture that is, I'd like to give an overview of what is currently the culture of, the Middle Eastern culture and how does that affect family businesses. And then a snapshot of basically how GCC family firms are operating, and then moving on to from that a reality check of currently what's happening in terms of succession, and then later on, hopefully, I'll also touch on the point regarding what is currently evolving in the scope with regards to succession in the Middle East, and then I'd like to conclude my presentation with my own story and hopefully growth in the region and beyond. If you can take us to the next slide, please. So basically, family businesses in the Middle East are not very different to family businesses you have in the German-speaking world or anywhere else around the world. It's basically succession problems are universal, and it's all to do with people. So there are emotions, and there are people certain certain types of people try to control basically the assets, the underlying assets or the companies, and although in Europe or elsewhere in the world, you could basically the first generation could actually choose, who who exactly takes over the wealth and the business. This, to a certain extent, could be done as well in the Middle East, but with the Islamic Sharia law, only a third of that wealth, basically, before someone basically passes away, they can actually allocate to external parties. More than a third is not permissible under someone's name. So what else is different? Honestly, how wealth has been created. A lot of these countries fall within, emerging and frontier market economies, very different to the Western world. So there has been major growth in this part of the world. So a lot of family businesses have grown substantially in the last, few decades. This probably has been a little bit more slower elsewhere in the world. So my aim today is not to treat the region as the other, but more about explaining the why here. Please, next slide. So basically, relationships come first here in the Middle East. There's an utmost respect for seniority. Age plays a very important role. So older siblings, family, or the family patriarch, the father, there is that, very respected and a very crucial role of, giving elders a bigger voice within an organization, and that's more cultural. I think that's more related with Arab culture, where our elders are, treated in the most respect. I'm sure that is also similar elsewhere around the world, but I think it really affects family dynamics with regards to control and succession. Reputation is super important in this part of the world. So the family name really guides long-term choices and decisions. And there is more of trying to please everyone. So consensus is, having a consensus within a family company or the family board is super important for things to move on. Next slide, please. So this basically is a map of the GCC. So there are 6 countries where Oman, my country, of course, is part of this. The GCC is also, quite, unique and particular with regards to family businesses forming almost 90% of the private sector. And there have been family companies that have established almost 80 to 100 years ago, and there are family businesses that literally started, within 5 years. And so the older family businesses usually start as agency houses representing international brands in the region, and then they jump into car dealerships. They jump into different services. So you would notice a lot of the older family businesses that are more diversified into a conglomerate sort of setup. And this differs to European family businesses, which are probably more specialized in particular niche areas. And I'm sure a lot of these family businesses in Europe work side by side, and there is that ecosystem and cohesion of every company supplying different components and parts. So basically, this is the main difference we have. If you can carry on, please. Next slide. So these economies of the GCC, until today, the government is the main, I would say, stimulant of these economies, and a lot of the family businesses depend on a very large extent of their income and projects from government expenditure. We are, still, Oman is considered a frontier market economy, whereas other Qatar, Saudi, and Emirates are emerging market countries. So this region is ever so expanding and growing, and thanks be to God, there are many opportunities now. But it's really led by the government. The government is the main growth component in this in these economies. There is still red tape, and this is still improving. The business environment is ever improving. So these are just some of the things that I thought it's important to explain the context within which we talk about family business succession. Please carry on. So what is the reality check? The reality check is that it's only almost 18 to 20% of family businesses in the Gulf, in the GCC, that have a comprehensive succession plan, as compared to 30% in elsewhere in the world. And if we look at also the GCC PwC study, 53% of family firms in the GCC basically have declared that there is no formal family governance structure. So we are still lagging as a region. There is still a lot of things to be done to improve these numbers and statistics. Please, can you carry on? So basically, as a snapshot, Sharia law still takes precedence in governing family ownership. And hence, when basically custody or ownership of shares within a business moves from one generation to another, Sharia court takes a role in basically dispersing the wealth according to who is basically alive from the family or close relatives of the deceased. So the ownership can become quite dispersed from one single patriarch to many relatives, all of a sudden owning different shares within the company. And then what usually happens with culture at times, it's the oldest male heir, he becomes the patriarch, which are the coming patriarch of the board. But this is basically what is used to happen and still happens to a certain extent, but this is changing nowadays, and I'll be explaining to you how this actually is changing going forward. Next slide, please. So basically, as I said, so basically this creates a fragmented ownership across the business, and this causes a major business risk where decision making becomes harder, and in addition to that, there is no consensus on basically management issues, and this just creates a time bomb for these family businesses that move to successive generations. But this is changing and evolving, if I can carry on. Next page. So what is happening nowadays? It's basically family businesses, or the family patriarch is trying to separate the family entity from the firm. So holding structures are created earlier on, before a succession agenda happens. And this basically ring fences the business in terms of ownership. And a lot of families are basically coming up with board mandates, and they're creating shareholder rules and that govern basically the dealings of the shareholders. And in addition to the tools that are also commonly used by family members, our family constitution, a family charter, and in addition to a family council, and this basically plays a major role in clearing, making it clear as to what would be the management roles that would carry on with the business. Was it either going to be within the family or from outside the family? All these agreements take place and are taking place currently these days, that are trying to safeguard family businesses during succession timings. Carry on, please. Next page. So just touching upon basically my own family's succession story. So my late father passed away when I was 17. I was in university, just entering university at the time. And we did not have a family holding structure. So, but then later on, so my elder sisters, they're very well educated, and and this is also another point that is very important about the region, that um, a lot of women are taking, a lot of big roles and executive roles in management positions and are given, the trust and accountability that they deserve for their competencies. So my two sisters, they actually took the transition of the company going forward, and actually we formed actually a holding structure that that withheld all the different shares of my brothers and I. And at the time, because my dad's mother was alive, so she had also a stake in that as well. So and then this also was helped us carry on the business, and where we were able to expand into other countries within the region. So we expanded into the UAE, in Qatar, in Kuwait, in India, and this really safeguarded that the board was functioning, and we were able to work cohesively with this holding structure. So I think it's important that if you cannot, of course, bypass, if you are as a Muslim, we have to abide with Sharia law, but at least that basically the holding mechanism and the holding structure really makes sure that the ownership of different family members is ring fenced within a certain structure, and this really creates a continuity and a very sustainable structure going forward for the growth of the company. Now, next page. So this is my last slide. I hope I haven't taken a lot of your time. So basically, it's succession and basically controlling the mechanism of how succession occurs really governs the growth of family businesses. Hence, it is very important that there are, clarity of control clarity from control accelerates decision making, and that's a very important point. In addition to that, professional leadership and also deciding as to how leadership positions will be chosen going forward is super crucial as well after a founder is moved on. In addition to that, governance enables access to capital, joint ventures. I think it's very important that a solid governance structure is put in place, before any God foreseen and unforeseen circumstances occurs going forward. And then last but not least, I think it's succession readiness reduces strategic paralysis, and it's very important that all these the questions that have not been asked are asked. Even the difficult questions as to who would take different entities in within an organization. And I think, we as a second generation today are asking that questions. Me and my siblings are talking together and asking as to, what in terms of control, are we happy to remain, our children, are we happy for them to remain partners in the business, or do we want to spin off or, separate in certain assets? Or do we wish to remain, in partnership going forward as well for the third generation? If you can go to the next slide, please. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope I have added value to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, for your presentation and the insights about the region and about your family business. We have now the floor open to questions to all the audience, all who joined today this afternoon. So please feel free to click the Q&A button, the F&A button, and type in your question, and we will take those questions to you, Dr. Khalid. I have one question that dropped into my mind. Do you still remember the first day when you joined the family business working? And possibly, I would assume, and what happened on that day? So how was this first day joining the family business?
Yes, so I actually forgot to mention that, my late father made it a point that all of us, work outside the family business before joining the family business. So I actually worked with BP. Now they're called Beyond Petroleum, but nowadays they used to be called British Petroleum. So I worked with BP for 4 years before joining the family business, and I remember the first day when I joined the family business is like, um, are these people looking at me just because I'm, one of the, shareholders, or are they listening to me because I have something to add, something of value to add? So I think, sometimes it's important, you get external exposure before joining the family
Mm.
business, because at times, management within the organization might, just because you say something as an owner,
Mm.
they would take it seriously. Not, even if it's not the best solution, or it's not the best, thing to take on board.
Mm. Mm. And one other question. You mentioned that the number of shareholders is increasing. So nowadays with siblings. And on the other side, you mentioned that you are a diversified family business, so into different industry. So there's on both sides complexity. How do you handle this complexity on the family and on the business side?
Honestly, with all due respect, it's not easy at all. It is not. Sometimes that's a problem with family businesses. There's a lot of, emotional intelligence that takes part. Not to offend someone. That's why, we try to, keep it professional in the boardroom. But
Hmm.
outside the boardroom, we try to be, I don't know, siblings. We try to be, uncles and aunt, like whatever it is, whatever the relationship is, inside the boardroom, it's professional, and it's, business like. Outside the boardroom, it is, all, cuddles and, nice nice talk together. But I mean, it's not easy to now. I mean, you have to, but it's a balance, honestly, because even I keep on telling this to a lot of, different other different family businesses, you know, even conflicts outside the boardroom could become, conflicts inside the boardroom.
Mm.
Sometimes when, bad or sour relationships outside, the office, can have a negative effect as well on basically the dynamics within the shareholder dynamics, because you're
Hmm.
family and you're also partners in the business. So we try to keep relationships good even outside the boardroom, so it doesn't affect. But it's not easy. It's tough, to be honest. But that's why, if you want to continue, that's why I'm saying, if you are second generation, and your late father or mother has, made it a choice for you and your siblings to remain in the business together. I think
Mm.
it's important that you work on the relationship as well. You don't forget that, you are also brothers and sisters outside the office. Um,
Yes.
and then if
Yes.
this moves on to the third generation, your cousins, your cousins outside the office. So you need to still, maintain that relationship as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are saying that nowadays you're working with your siblings together. Can you give us an example of how you make decisions as siblings? So how do you come to a decision to go to another country? Because you also made your doctoral research about internationalization.
International,
How does this
exactly.
somehow connect,
Yep.
and how does it make you taking or making decisions?
So there is this, belief, we hear this belief a lot in family business, studies and schools. They say that the first generation makes the wealth, the second generation preserves the wealth, okay, and then the third generation loses it. you know
Mm.
so, looking at the second generation, I'm a second generation today, and me looking at my siblings, we're all six together.
Mm-hmm.
We are very I mean, there is some risk averseness. You first of all, you being a family business, as compared to a normal, business or entrepreneur that started a business yesterday. Um, you just being a family business, this means that you are more risk averse. But this is something, apparently this family business studies point out that family businesses in general are more risk averse as compared to
Mm.
non-family businesses, just because the family depends on that wealth and you don't want to lose that wealth. It is the main provider for the entire family. So there is more to lose there. So when you ask me about, so how do we, first of all, as siblings, we have divided basically the sectors amongst us. So I'm an oil and gas, my background is oil and gas.
Mm.
So I mainly represent the family in our oil and gas investments. My two sisters, they represent, so we have a private university. So my two sisters actually sit on the board of the private university. We have an engineering school and a medical school as part of that university. It's called the NUST, National University of Science and Technology. It's the largest private university in Oman. And my other sibling, so one, he's an ex-banker, so he represents the family in our investments, international investments, and he also sits on the board of a few investments companies. And my other brother, he's a civil engineer, so he represents the family in the construction and the property development side. So all of us basically represent the family in different arms of the businesses.
Mhm.
And when it comes to this, taking a decision as to expand outside, it's honestly, it's all based on opportunities, and we study it, and
Mm.
then it comes back to the board. And usually we like to grow organically. So family businesses, I mean, generally, us included, we do not believe in inorganic growth a lot. So we would take our time in growing, and we would not take major debt. We like the idea of growing within your means, one step at a time.
And how do you make then the decisions in the board? How can I imagine this? So you discuss a lot, or and then yeah, everyone fights for resources, or how does it work?
Honestly, I think there's a good balance. So one of my elder brother, he likes taking risk. And
Uh-huh.
my second elder sister, she's very risk averse. So there's a balance. So they keep on fighting in the board. I mean, not fighting, but I'm saying they keep on
Yeah, yeah.
debating. If this out,
Yes.
this becomes the debit advocate, and my sister becomes a debit advocate, and my brother says, no, you're not looking at the pros. There's so much growth there, and then I listen to them. And then me and my other sister, we like to we like to listen and reflect, and then we bounce ideas. And honestly, we have also non-executive as well, non-independent. We have an independent director someone who's
Mhm.
also older than us, who guides the family. So we have two older people who have been with us for more than 2 decades, and we believe in them. And I think it's important that every family business
Okay.
has such advisors or people that you can trust. And sometimes you need to like a sounding board, to throw ideas to them, for you to hear it back, to sometimes cross verify and cross check. Does it make sense? Do we need to think of something else? Have we forgotten something else? So I think it's important that and I'm sure most family businesses have those family advisors that have been with you for so long. You've tested the relationship. You can
Yes.
trust them. This is very important, I think.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And this makes it very practical to understand what is succession and also the governance structure in your region. And one other thing we came across when preparing for your speech, that there is an Oman's Vision 2040, and this pushes economic diversification and a stronger private sector leadership. What does this mean to your family business?
Yeah, so what is Oman 2040? Vision Oman 2040 is basically means that, in particular sectors, of the economy, the country is putting more effort in particular sectors, including, tourism, manufacturing, um, hospitality. So there are certain sectors that the government is focusing on and wanting it to contribute more towards the economy and the GDP. So there are particular, for example, they want the tourism to become a minimum of 5% of GDP. I think currently it's around, if I'm not mistaken, something around 2 or 3%. So, I mean, there are, there are some basically metrics that the government is
Mhm.
trying to work towards. And for us as a family business, we look at that, very, closely, and we try to position ourselves towards those. So so if we grow as a company, the country grows, the country benefits, or if the country benefits, we benefit out of it. So that's why, hence that's why we've diversified. And we're working on, we have restaurants, we're working on a hotel project now because we believe in tourism, and we feel
Mm.
there is room for growth in that area. So yeah, it is all about aligning yourself with what the country is moving towards.
Mm. And now the last question is, and I'm very curious about it. So you made your experience in following as a second generation. From your personal experience, what went good, what went well, and what didn't work somehow? What would you recommend other next gens, especially in Oman, to make, to prepare, to think about, to focus on when thinking about succession?
I think it's the number one question that is super important, I think, is looking at your, if you have, if for example, if it's the patriarch, the father that is wanting to give his children, the business, an operating business, for him to first of all question and ask, are my children ready for this? Do they actually like the business? Can they actually make sense of the business? Can they add value to the business? Would the business continue without him around, without the father around? I mean, how much so how much basically value should the next generation give to the business and time for it to grow, or remain as it is, or basically keep on functioning. So for example, looking at now, for example, when I look at my children now today, my children are quite young. I mean, I've got three boys, but they're quite young, so I don't want to enforce it on them that they should, be part of these businesses or active businesses, because I mean times are changing, and I think every generation has its own choices to make, and passions. So I don't want to enforce on my children to be involved with with these businesses. I mean, this is my own perspective. I mean, I'd rather that they choose their own path in life, and I would of course test them out when they as they are growing, and to see if they would be willing to be part of this story. But I
Mm.
mean, I think sometimes, I think one of the biggest mistakes I think family businesses do is that they
Mhm.
enforce a business on a child, that they need to be part of that business. And I think sometimes maybe it's better that the business moves on to another, probably, party that could do, more things to it. And
Mm.
the child, basically gets the fruits of that business. I mean, maybe his passions are not, he or she, their passions are not, within the activities of that particular business.
Yes, and it's like from my experience, also of following this, it's like always what you were saying is like saying yes, I want to do this, and also thinking about it if I'm the right person, and then making the decision joining the business or not. You have made the decision joining your family business, and you have made the decision today to share your story and also to give us insights about your region, which were very, very interesting in terms of understanding this grow in family and understanding the diversification, and also this growth in the on the business side, and what your plans are about your family business, and in which areas you would like to continue your success story. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, for joining us to this afternoon. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity and the platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye bye.